Welcome back to the Tool Crib. Today we are going to be looking at Leatherman's new iteration of the SuperTool 300. This is the Leatherman SuperTool 300M. The M designation is for military. And I've only had this a couple of hours. It just came out. I just got the email from Leatherman, ordered it right away, and I've had very little time to spend with this particular multi-tool. But I can tell you so far, I like what I see in this particular tool. You know, I get asked a lot, what would be the best multi-tool for a family member, a service member? A lot of people ask me for their family, what I recommend. And oftentimes I've kind of leaned towards the Wave Charge Surge platform for just the the standard multi-tool. Fits the bill a little bit better than some of the military versions or the EOD versions of those tools. So right now, and this is not to say that I don't like those tools. I'm a real big fan of the Leatherman Mutt. I'm a big fan of the Leatherman Mutt EOD. I'm a big fan of the SuperTool 300 EOD. But not everybody is an EOD tech. And so a lot of those tools are just, they're never going to use them. And so they're just extra. While they're nice, I don't necessarily know that that fits the bill for them. So for most people, I have kind of recommended the Charge series of tools, the Wave series of tools, and the Surge. Until now, because I think that this SuperTool 300M offers a lot of the stuff that I think is important from the Charge Surge series and puts it into the 300, while it's not exactly the same. Some of the things are even better in this 300 EOD, and I'll try to explain a little bit as we go along more of what I mean. But from the limited time that I've had to spend with this particular tool, I actually truly feel that this is, if you have a family member that's in the services and you're looking for a multi-tool that would most benefit them, as of right now, I think that this new version, this 2020 version of the SuperTool 300M, is probably the way to go for a number of different reasons. Let's get into the SuperTool 300M. First, let's get the specs out of the way on this SuperTool. So this is going to be the same overall frame size as you're going to get out of the other SuperTool 300 models. It's going to be 4.5-inch frame, 4.5 inches long, or 114 millimeters. The overall width is 1.5 inches. Now that's to the outside of the tool release clips. It's actually a little bit thinner on the body itself, but we'll just call it 1.5 inches or about 38 millimeters. The thickness is 3/4 of an inch or about 19 millimeters. Now where this differs just a little bit from the other SuperTool models is that this one is just a little bit lighter. This one comes in at 9.7 ounces or 276 grams, where the regular SuperTool is about 10 or 10.1, and the EOD version is about 9.7.5 or 9.8. So this is actually weighs a little bit less than those other models. Now, a couple of things I want to highlight real quick. First of all, this comes in two different colors. You can get it in a black or you can get it in the tan version, which I got. Now, both of those versions are going to have black oxide tools, and the coating on the outside of the frame is Cerakote. So this is a Cerakote finish, and I got to tell you, that feels really nice. It takes away from the slickness of the regular stainless steel, but it's not overbearing, and it's not quite as grippy as what you're going to get in some of the newer Charge iterations, but nonetheless, I do like this coating. Now, apart from that Cerakote finish, there's a few things that I want to point out. Now, we're going to go a little bit more in depth with these things here in just a little bit, but the first and foremost is going to be the new driver, and the new driver is going to come with a sight tool, 4-pin sight tool on the front. But that's not all that is great about this, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a little bit. The next thing is this actually comes with a 20-bit sleeve, and it, you know, the only other model that comes with a bit sleeve direct from Leatherman is going to be the Charge series, and it comes with a 12-bit. This one actually has a full bit sleeve, and this is a very, very good combination of bits that they include in here, from your Phillips to your flat driver, which you also have another flat driver in here, your Torx bits, and your Allen heads. It is a wide selection of bits that are going to be very, very useful to anybody that purchases this particular tool. Now, the next thing I want to point out is that it comes with the MOLLE compatible sheath. So you have side pockets on that sheath, elastic pockets to add little flashlights or extra stuff that you want to put on there. It is hook and loop, but one thing it does have is inside of the sheath, it has a little sleeve for that extension, which is actually very nice. Now on the outside, again, it's MOLLE compatible. Now this wrench does not come with it. I just put it in here to show this is what comes with the Leatherman Mutt, but it can be purchased as an accessory. So if you wanted to carry the sight tool wrench, which would be a little bit redundant considering we have that different extension, but you would get the 3/8 wrench with it to add on to this particular tool, and it already comes with the case to have a slot for it. Well, let's get a little further into the toolkit of this 300M and show you what I like about it so much. We're going to start with the pliers, and again, the tools on both of these versions of the 300M are going to be black oxide tools. So we have the pliers, you have your needle nose, your regular pliers, your premium wire and hard wire cutters, as well as a stranded wire cutter behind the jaws of the regular pliers, and then a crimping tool. Now, while this does not have the super sharp cutters that you get in the EOD version, it does offer the hard wire cutters, which are not in the EOD version, and unfortunately those don't interchange. So this is going to be pretty much the same as the standard 300 series of tools, with one exception. It's going to include the 832 female thread adapter for your gun cleaning kits. Now that is one thing that doesn't come with the standard. It does come on the EOD version, and then if you close it up, it does have a slot there that gives you access to that female thread so that you can then use your tool as a T-handle for your cleaning rods, which is very, very nice. Now let's go through the tool set. The first one that we have out is going to be the blade. Now that's a 428C blade. It's going to be pretty much the standard blade that you get with the 300 series of tools. There's going to be a couple of tools in here that do not come standard with the regular 300 though. This is a tool I do like a lot, and some people don't, some people do. I find it very useful. This is the 3-in-1 tool. This is can opener, bottle cap lifter, and wire stripper. And I get a lot of use out of the wire stripper. I also get a lot of use out of the front tip of that particular style of can opener because it's not really sharp. It works really well as a, for me, on job site cleaning fingernails. It's the same tool that's in the Surge, and I just get a lot of use out of it. And the can opener is exceptional. The bottle cap lifter leaves a little bit to be desired because it's kind of thin where it would grab the bottom of the cap, so it doesn't work exceptionally well. It works, it's just not great. The next tool is one that is new to the 300, and that is going to be the bit exchanger. This I like a lot in here because there is a need for a variety of different screwdrivers, and by adding, now the 300 comes with the standard three-dimensional Phillips, and while there's a bit kit for that, I just find that this one works a little better for me, and some people are going to be, they're going to lean the other way. They're going to rely on that larger Phillips driver for the majority of their task, and I completely understand where they're coming from because it is an overall better screwdriver. But this one offers you the ability to add on a different kind of extension, and then you can increase your capabilities. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about this extension here in a minute, but this is an important tool for me because I do use my multi-tools as a driver a lot. So that is one tool that I do like a lot on here. The next tool is the file that comes with the SuperTool 300M. And this is a pretty good file. It's not quite on par with that of what you're going to get out of Swiss Tool, but nonetheless, this is a very good file. It has a very nice aggressive crosshatch pattern for the combination file, has the edge file here, and then the single cut file, all of which work pretty good. They're not the best, but they are very, very far from the worst. Now, if we rotate around, the next tool, which I like the fact that it has this, you get the serrated blade, and I think that's an important tool. And the serrated blade also has a flat edge up on the front here that gives you some draw cut capability. And I haven't tested these blades, but I know Leatherman blades. I've never had a blade come out of Leatherman that wasn't sharp. These things are wicked sharp. So this is an important tool. And the reason I say that is because I like the fact that this is on here separately, because it is very good for cutting man-made materials such as rope, as strap, any number of different things. And I like a serrated blade separate. I do not like the combination blades. The next tool that we're going to look at is the pry tool. This is new on any Leatherman tool. This is the first time Leatherman has done this. And we're going to circle back to this. I'm going to bring in some other tools here that this, some people might feel this is like a copy from Gerber. It's not quite, and I really do like this tool a lot. The next tool is the 1/8 inch flat driver. Now, this can come in handy, I guess. For me, this is pretty redundant. I actually wish that they would have exchanged this for the larger bit of what normally comes on the SuperTool and the Leatherman Surge, and we're gonna come back to that here in a little bit as well. But this is the 1/8 inch driver. Now, the last tool that you get on here is also a new tool. Now, what you lose is you lose the saw, so that could affect a lot of people. A lot of people like the saw. Now, what this one is, this is a combination tool. So this is going to be an awl with sewing eyelet, and it's also going to be a carbon scraper. Now, unlike the Leatherman Mutt series of tools where it comes with a bronze carbon scraper, this one is not. This one is stainless steel. How that is going to work against your firearms, the stainless on this should still be a lot less aggressive, or not as hard as what you're going to get out of the barrels and out of the steel on your weapon. So it shouldn't hurt your weapon. I'm not a big rifle guy. I have a few pistols, but as far as using the carbon scraper on there, I don't know if this is going to be a great option as opposed to something like the Leatherman Mutt with their bronze carbon scraper. But it is very long. You have a lot of reach with this particular carbon scraper, more so than you get with the carbon scraper on the Leatherman Mutt. Let's talk a little bit more about some of these tools, and I'm going to bring in some other multi-tools and try to compare some of these different items to show you how this one does things just a little bit different. So the first thing we were talking about, or the last thing we were talking about, was this carbon scraper. Now, again, on the Mutt, it's going to be a bronze. It's also going to be a little bit shorter. Not going to include a sewing eyelet. Can be used as an awl, but it's not going to be nearly as strong as the awl on the new SuperTool 300M. Now, where the benefit to this is obviously because this is bronze as opposed to being stainless steel. I cannot speak to how that is going to affect your weapons. I would tend to believe that the stainless that is in this particular carbon scraper is not going to be nearly as hard as the steel that your weapon is made out of, and so it is still going to be just fine. I do wish they could have incorporated bronze, but then again, they would have lost the functionality or the larger ability of the awl, if you will. And I've used that awl a couple times, and as a matter of fact, let's do it now. This awl actually works better than I anticipated, so we're going to just run this on some little bit of pine. It's not quite as pointy and as aggressive as what you get on the regular SuperTool or what you get on the Surge, but what I do like is it has a lot of reach. Now, I guess I hit a hard spot in that wood there, so it's really not doing an effective job on that particular piece. Let me get into a little bit softer side of this wood and see. Excuse me. You can see that it gets in there just a little bit better. Now, it does work. It's not as good as what comes on the regular, and this is my Surge, and we'll just run the Surge in there real quick. And you can see that the Surge is just biting in there so much better, but that's because the Surge, like the regular SuperTool, has a pointed awl. So you can see that the awl pattern here is a little bit wider. Now, it wasn't very hard to make that hole, but the Surge just went in there easier. So it's a little bit of a you have to give and take, I guess. And while you still have the functionality, I would have been better had they left that in a little bit more point. If they would have changed the angle of this at the tip just a little bit, you'd still be able to use it as a carbon scraper. But if they would have modified that just a little bit more, give it a little bit sharper point, then I think it would have worked a little bit better. The next tool that I want to take a better look at is going to be the pry tool. So on the right, I have the SuperTool 300M, and on the left, we have the Gerber Center Drive Plus. Now, while these tools look very similar to one another, there's actually some key differences, and I actually prefer the one on the Leatherman a little bit more. So first of all, the jaw pattern for the SuperTool, for the Center Drive Plus is going to be in a V pattern, where in the SuperTool it's going to start out as a V, but then it's going to end up kind of a U pattern, a U shape. Now it gets a little narrower at the point, at the very interior, but I don't know if I prefer, for that particular part of it, I've tried it a couple times already, just in the limited time I've had it, and actually it works pretty well. I think it works a little bit better than this one, and the only reason is I think the V shape probably would have worked better overall, but this one is not cut as deep, and that is the main factor there. Now, what I do like, two things that I like about the Leatherman version over the Gerber version is the fact that they don't include that bottle cap lifter in there. I like that fact that it's a little bit more streamlined, a little more slim. I do like that. The next thing is that if you'll see on the Gerber, they actually, it's not flat across here. They add this piece of steel here on the side that acts as a reinforcement, but it really takes away from the usability to use the outer tip as a pry tool. So if you're using it to do just regular prying tasks without using the nail pull function, then it tends to kick it away from it. Just doesn't work that well because of that extra little piece there. Where in the Leatherman, it doesn't have that. It is all smooth and streamlined, and it just works better overall. I really like this one over this one. Now, these are kind of give and take, because this is not a tool that I think you're going to get an exceptional amount of use out of. It's nice that it's new and that Leatherman's putting in their tool. I just don't, this is one of those where I think they could have got away with going with something else here, and it would have been better. But nonetheless, this is what it comes with. So while both of them work well, I think the Leatherman works a little bit better for a couple of those reasons that I mentioned. Now, there's one tool on here that is the only one that I really have a problem with. Now, while you get pry functionality out of the 300M with the pry tool, I like the fact that this one has the larger driver on it, because there are times when you just need a pry tool that's a flat tool and not necessarily that is shaped in the fashion that this one is. I just feel like they messed up here. Is the only thing that they did wrong. That they put in the 1/8 inch driver as opposed to this 5/16 driver. If they would have put this tool in place of that 1/8 inch driver, I think it would have been better. And the reason that I say that, obviously, is because you already have the ability, you have that driver right there. That's the 1/8 inch driver. So this is a redundant tool, in my opinion, and I think it would have been better served with the larger driver. Now, there's one tool that a lot of people are going to find that is missing with this tool, and this comes down to a problem that you only have 4 slots to put in your larger tools on that, so that they pass by the outside of the pliers when the multi-tools are folded up. And for the most part, that's going to be a file, a saw, a standard blade, and then a serrated blade, or exchange one of those for a pair of scissors. Where now we have a 5th tool that is introduced, and that is that carbon scraper into this particular 300M. So they had to eliminate one tool, and the one that they eliminated was that saw. Now that's going to be a problem for some people, and I completely understand why. The saw can be necessary. Is it more necessary in this application than the file? In my opinion, no. I think the file is the better tool for this particular 300M for who it's geared for. I just think it's a better option, and I personally agree with their choice here to eliminate the saw, leave both of the blades, add the carbon scraper, and leave the file. I know not everybody's going to agree with that, and I completely understand why. I just wanted to highlight that it definitely does not have the saw with it. Now we have come to the last feature of this tool, and one of the most important, and one of, I like the way they did this, and I hope that this extension becomes available in the accessories that you can purchase separate, because I know a lot of people are going to want this extension. So while this is in black oxide, we're going to do it against the normal extension. Now the normal extension is a little bit thicker. It's a little bit more aggressive. Here's the difference though. Where the normal bit is going to take the standard Leatherman bit, and we'll just pull this one out of here, and all double-sided proprietary bits from Leatherman are going to have these little notches on the side. Well, inside of the extension has a little ring, a little spring there, and so when you stick those extensions or those bits into that extension, that ring engages with those little notches and thereby keeps it from just falling out on you. That's what secures the bits in there. Well, in the new one, because they included a sight tool, a 4-post sight tool on there, now they do not have that portion where they can put that ring in. So what they have done is they have included a magnet on the bottom of it, and it's actually a pretty stout little magnet. So now you stick your bit in there and it is held in place by the magnet. That magnet's actually really strong, but the greatest benefit to this particular driver is for the very first time ever, without effort, you can take a standard 1/4 inch bit and you can insert it in there. You have enough of the bit extended out in order to be able to use it, and you have a magnetic catch on the back. So they are very easy to pull out, put back in without any effort. So for those who want to carry extra 1/4 inch bits, then this is a viable option. Now, the reason that I like this driver over the standard truss style Phillips that you get in the regular 300 is because of this extension. Because now you can carry one number 2 Phillips in your kit if you want to, and you have taken away the advantage that the regular 300 has over the 300M, and you have just increased your capability just an immense amount with this particular driver. And it still houses these drivers without any effort. So it engages just fine, but because that ring is no longer there and is held in by magnet, it's actually a little bit easier to pull out, and they work just fine. This is the best advancement that Leatherman has made to their multi-tool accessories in quite some time. In fact, this just now became the accessory that I'm going to be seeking out for a couple of my other multi-tools that I carry on a regular basis, because I think that they have done us a big, huge favor by allowing us to have an extension that will both utilize the proprietary bits of Leatherman and will allow us to use standard 1/4 inch bits. And that's the first time ever, because with this bit, and it's probably going to be very difficult to get this out of here, you can see that it sinks in there, but it is kind of stuck, and you almost have to use your pliers in order to pull it out. And the reason is because that little spring does not engage in the same spot on a normal bit, and so now the thing is almost stuck in there, and I'm really just going to have to use the pliers to pull it out of there. So we'll do that real quick, and you can see just how stuck those bits actually do get in there. There it came. But because the notch on these bits is recessed lower than what you're going to get on the standard bit, yeah, you run into that problem. Well, they have just eliminated that problem, and I am very grateful for it. This is the new extension that you're going to get with it. Gentlemen, this has been a look at the Leatherman SuperTool 300M, and it has just become the multi-tool that is my #1 recommendation for anybody in the military. Unless you need the specialized MUT or the EOD versions of either the SuperTool 300 or of the MUT itself, the MUT EOD, then I think this is the way to go. It pains me to say this, but I think this is actually a better way to go than even my favorite, the Leatherman Surge. I truly believe that. I think this is going to be the best option. Well, this has been a look at the Leatherman SuperTool 300M, the 2020 version of the SuperTool from Leatherman. Hope you've enjoyed. If you did, please hit that thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.